Yo, hey everybody, what's up? If you notice the headline, the title of today's show, can you hear me? The title of today's show is Lies About Palestine, because there's always at least two sides to every story. All right, so let's talk about this slant that some media outlets take on this narrative regarding Israel and Palestine. All right, I'm going to show you. Something that's an obvious display of slanting the narrative towards a bias. And you have to be able to recognize this bullshit when you see it. Otherwise, you'll get fooled by it. All right, so that's the subject of today's Hidden Secrets Revealed Live. The idea is simple. Every day I go live for about 10 minutes, Monday through Friday. And this started off as a digital marketing podcast. So while that is a thing that I do for work, there's a new frontier ahead. And I want to bring your attention to certain things in case you haven't noticed. Like currently, as I'm recording this, there's a escalating conflict in Israel. And the narrative is this, that there is this oppressed group called the Palestinians. While it's not entirely untrue, the backstory is that before Israel became a nation in 1948, the people who called themselves Palestinians were Jews. Those who identified as Arabs in the land, in the territory of Palestine, they did not call themselves Palestinians. They called themselves Arabs. And when the narrative of Palestine evolved into what we know it is today, it was over the course of time when the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, came to power with Yasser Arafat in the 80s. And that's when this idea started emerging that Palestinians were an oppressed people and that Israel was occupying their land, occupying whatever. The occupation story started forming. You know, this narrative that the Israeli occupation of Palestine is actually a thing, when the reality is that Israel is the Jewish homeland. And up until that point, the Jewish people did not have a recognized nation. Now, this isn't any sort of comment one way or the other about the concept of a religious state, but the state, but a nation of the nation of Israel is a nation of the Jewish people. And if you don't accept that, then you have a problem accepting Jews. You have a problem accepting the idea of a Jewish homeland, and you have a problem accepting the Jewish people. Not to oversimplify this, but that's sort of a broad strokes explanation of what we're looking at with this conflict. And there are those in the media who spin the narrative. It's always slanted. It's almost always slanted. Just about all media, all information is slanted because people are slanted, because the nature of the human being is towards cognitive bias. So I acknowledge that I am biased towards Israel, and I'm not going to lie about that. While I do recognize that the people of Palestine, now generations later, do feel oppressed because their Arab brothers and sisters around them won't do anything to alleviate. They feel powerless, and they feel that Hamas is the only organization that will fight for them. But here's the difference. While Israel builds bomb shelters and protects human lives and protects the lives of their children, Hamas builds terror tunnels and uses children as human shields. There's a fundamental difference in the mentality of this conflict, of the opponents, if for lack of a better word, in this conflict. So I'll wrap it up by showing you this. Just before I went live, this came up in my Instagram feed. From a media source called Insider. The headline: Gazans are facing severe water and electricity shortages under Israeli airstrikes, with a picture of a devastated area with a lone person walking through the rubble, who we presume is a Palestinian. The nature of this headline presupposes that this severe water and electricity shortage is caused by the Israeli airstrikes, which is not true. Gazans are facing severe water and electricity shortages because of Hamas, not because of Israeli airstrikes. This leaves out so much information. So someone reading this, someone seeing this, who is slanted already, who doesn't know the facts, will be led to believe that Israel is the bad guy and that Gazans are the victims here. Okay, but let me remind you that Israel gave up Gaza. Israel in 2005 gave Gaza to the Palestinians. Israeli people left, they moved out, and they gave this land to the Gazan people. Okay. Now, let me ask you something. If you were faced with someone who wanted to kill you, and everything that they put in writing, or they actually put it in writing, that they wanted you to be annihilated, that their main goal was for you to be annihilated, would you give away your land to them? Would you move out and give them the area and not expect them to attack you anyway? Because that's what happened here. That's what's happening. So there's a lie about Palestine for you. Do you have something to say about this? Do you want to leave a comment? Do you hate me for saying this? Let me know. Like and share this, or don't. Whatever, it's up to you. All right, that's all the time I have for today. Thanks for watching.